Still grooving and dancing. So for those of you who noticed that the screen's a little bit different and I'm still looking at my camera decided to go on me. So I had to hurry up and change gears and have a little bit of a different view. So if the sound is a little bit different, if the camera's different, we're on the fly here with the slides. So welcome everybody. We are back with the 2024 Makers Retreat and we have our amazing next sponsor. We have Ashley from Artesprix. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to bring her in. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I was just sharing that we're going live on our Instagram.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. I'm going to do a throwback to when I first met you. It has been a while. It's been a hot minute. But the first time I was introduced to Artesprix was back, and I'm trying to remember the year. And I think it was either 18 or 19. And we were in New York up at the Woodstock event.
Yes, it was 2008.
Was it 17? 18? Something like that.
I think so. 18.
It's been a little while, and I was there with another company and I was walking around, I was doing demos with them, and you were like the booth across from me, and it was outside. It was a beautiful day. It was nice and cool, and I was like, we're up at where Woodstock was. It was the weirdest event though.
It was a bit strange.
It was cool, but it was weird. And apparently there was some sort of other cheese event or some other event happening, and everybody was going to that, and we were trying to bus people over to our event, and it was weird. But the funny thing is that for me coming to that one event where I met you, I also met a few other people that I've stayed in contact with all of them and have fostered some amazing relationships. So even at the time, I'm like, this event sucked and it was awful and it was weird. And it just what was the point of going? There were so many amazing relationships that I've fostered and that have grown and developed over the years from meeting at that point. So now hindsight, I'm like, there was a reason for me to be there. There's a reason for me to be at that event. And, you can't always judge it at that one moment, whether it was good or bad. Sometimes it develops.
Yes. And that was better. The first one. That was the first one of first and last, because it was quiet to your point, but that was the first one of its kind. So of course, if everybody doesn't go, then of course it's going to be quiet and, vice versa. But to your point again, there were a lot of great companies there, and we were right next to Bob Ross and across from Beacon, and there were some really good companies there, and that was good because it was in the summer or September. It was actually this time.
It was September. Yeah,
it's like our friendversary, Erin.
It is our friendiversary.
So yeah, it was good times. It ended up working out.
It totally did. And then we bumped into each other quite a few times, and then we started working together in different ways. And this is now the second year you've been a part of our Makers Retreat. And I truly want to say thank you so much for working with us and being a sponsor and, promoting my event and just, being a part of and working to all of what we do together. Thank you so much for keeping me included in all that stuff. So
thank you for having us, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to show paper crafters that they can be sublimators too, because we are big believers in that, and we love using our paper crafting supplies for sublimation. So we just, thanks again for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for those that have no idea, and I see Ellie Mae who is on, and if you ever jump on to Artesprix's YouTube channel, Silhouette Secrets, her real name is Ellie Mae. She is the face of a lot of the lives that are up on those videos. So I'm going to give a nice little shout out to her real fast. But yeah, she actually came to the in-person retreat as well. So that was really cool. But for those that have no idea who you are or what Artesprix is, I'm going to give you the floor. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown about what your company is all about?
Sure. So good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm with Artesprix. We are the makers of sublimation arts and craft supplies. And essentially what that is we have taken the magic of sublimation ink and we've harnessed it into markers, stamp pads, and paint, which gives anyone the ability to make sublimation projects without a fancy printer. So prior to Artesprix, the only way that you could experience, a sublimation project is if you were using sublimation printer ink. And so we essentially took the printer away and we've created a full line of fun products that you can use because I guess the next question is, what's the big deal about sublimation? And the big deal is that it's lifetime permanent. It's the professional projects that you see, when you end up in a gift shop after a tour at a museum and you see a mug with the picture of, that famous that painting that you just saw in the museum, that on a mug. It's the same concept. We've essentially just taken the printer out of it, and you are creating the art yourself, again, with our markers and, craft inks. And then you are transferring that to the mug or the bookmark, the tote bag, all sorts of things. So there really is endless in regards to the blanks. And again, we just love that you guys can use all of the tools that you already have in your maker's toolbox, whether that be stamps, stencils, your paper cutters. I've got, a die cut, the Sizzix die cut here, machine here. So you can use all the things that you know and love and already know how to use. Like that part, you guys are total pros at, and then I'll teach you about the transferring part. But the first part of the project is the same thing. We're just going to substitute the magic ink of our products as opposed to the, traditional stamping ink that you guys are used to using.
So way back when she first, I had no clue what this was, and I was introduced to the markers at that New York event because it was the first time I'd heard of this product and heard of the name of the company. She says, "This is your gateway drug to sublimation." And I was like, okay. And I heard that little word, I heard her say that, and it just didn't quite click. And then now years later, because that was in 18, I think we said it happened in 18. Mm-hmm. Now we're in 2024, and I have my own sublimation printer, and I have, a sublimation tumbler press and a mug press, and I have a mini one. I'm like, and at the time she's like, "You can do it with your home iron. Just take a pen, mark, and then, just use on the blank." And I was like, okay. She's like, "And you can use your stamps." And then it was totally the gateway drug.
It didn't happen overnight. It's been 6 years, right? It didn't happen overnight. But hey, what can I say? It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's a different way. Cards are amazing. And it's just a great way to sometimes to elevate those moments when you want to do a card. You can pair it with a bookmark themed using the same stamps and things that you use for the card. You can pair it with a bookmark, a keychain, a small luggage tag, put in a cute little zip case. I mean, there are just so many ways that you guys can enhance what you're already doing and with the magic of sublimation, and put those designs that you love on an object that can be used, because we know they're not allowed to throw the cards away. You guys have those stamps like, "This was made with love, don't throw it away," right? We know that, but they're much more likely to keep a bookmark for a long time, or a keychain. And again, this, because it's sublimation and it's that professional ink, they will have it. It's lifetime permanent. It will never fade, crack, peel, rip apart. It's there forever.
Yeah, it does make a huge, huge difference. I love it. So it's just, again, that one little thing. And I started off with just like that one. I think I had like 2 or 3 colors of markers and just played. And I think you gave me a blank, and I did one while we were there, and it just has grown and grown and grown and grown. And yeah, now I'm teaching the classes and like having it as part of my events. And
yeah.
it just,
you're like,
really, truly
I know what that is. I'll teach people all about it.
I do now. All right, so you have something fun that we're going to do together in class, different than what we did in our classes. So don't feel like you are, like we've already done this. No, we're doing something totally different you have, in my mind, I feel like you have 3 kind of different products. You have your markers, you have your paints, which we did classes on both of those. And then you also have inks. And we did not touch on inks at all this year. We did dabble with them last year in the last year's retreat, but this year I didn't even bring them out. So that's what we're going to be playing with today. So I'm going to give you the floor, and if you can showcase kind of what are some fun things you can do. You have a special project that we're going to be doing with one of your other really cool products. That's a masking product, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
All right. So you got the floor, girl.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm so excited to get started with this project with you today. Let's talk about what we need and what we're going to be using. So I was looking at the sponsor, the other fellow sponsors for this event, and I saw that Sizzix was listed. And also, I love using a gel press plate. So it was a little, touch and go which one I was going to do. But I decided to go with the die cuts because we love using our heat resistant transfer mask for creating blank space, and I'll show you guys exactly how it works. So this is exactly what you might think. We're going to use it with the dies to cut out shapes and then place that when we transfer, and then we'll get that shape on the blank in the end. So I'll show you guys how that works. There's a really fun Sizzix set here where I found some bats. We're going to do Halloween theme because I know in crafting world, spooky season started like technically maybe even July 1st, but for most people, it is after Labor Day. So I figured it was a good time to start, maybe getting into the spooky season here in the craft room. So we're going to be using the heat resistant transfer mask. And we'll also be using our sublimation ink pad. So as Erin mentioned, we do have our markers, which you got in your kit. And if you attended the in-person retreat, you did get to work with our sublimation paint here, which is very fun. But we also have 9 different colored ink pads. So I have black, orange, and purple. And then I also have my blending brushes. Now this is a set of blending brushes that we do use specifically for our ink. It's just a good idea with the paint brushes, because you wash them, which actually I learned you're supposed to clean these, and maybe Erin has a video on that I should watch, but I don't clean these as much as I
don't.
Should. You don't? No?
No.
Okay, well,
I don't clean my blending brushes sit right there. And these are ones that are for like my Catherine Pooler inks and stuff. But I do have a whole different set like you do for I've never cleaned them.
Okay.
I know you're probably supposed to, but
put it in the chat. Do you clean your blending brushes? I want to know. Okay. Because I've been telling, as Erin says, when we first started, I didn't know much about die cuts and stamps and stencils, and I've come a long way myself in the paper crafting world. So I was under the impression that you don't clean these. So put it in the chat. Let us know if you clean them. We want to know. But with paintbrushes, you do clean. So you can use the same ones, no problem. But for the blending ones, we do recommend having your own set.
See, and there's some people that say don't clean your stencils because all the little bits of paint and stuff, it's great for the next project. There's some people that say, don't worry about cleaning your stamps. So I think there's 2 sides to each about cleaning or not cleaning. Paintbrushes, you have to because it'll get hard and crunchy. But the ink doesn't, depending on the inks, at least for your inks, I've never had a problem. Yeah. The bristles don't get hard and crunchy. They just keep saturating some, and therefore you have more color to do. But I know, curious. I'd love to know. Do people clean their blending brushes?
See afterwards.
Oh.
So we have our blending brushes. We'll also be using just plain copy paper. You can use anything. You can use cardstock, mixed media paper, watercolor paper, graph paper, line paper. Anything really goes. We haven't found anything that doesn't work, except for we don't like recommending sublimation paper. So if you have that for whatever reason, you thought maybe I'll use that, actually save that for the printer because you don't need it with our products. We'll also be using our sublimation bookmarks. These come in a set of 4. And then I don't know how we're doing on time, but I did pull out our set of sublimation block alphabet stamps. So the way I like to explain it is traditional stamps, which are the stamps that you guys all have in your stash, are mirrored, so then that way when you stamp it on the card, happy birthday reads correctly. But we want our text on the paper to be mirrored. So Artesprix does have a line of non-mirrored stamps that stamp reverse, so that way when we transfer it to the bookmark, it reads correctly. So these are just a great way to create, any text that you might need, or you can use our mirror, like a weather woman, see if I can get this right, our mirror stamp plate, okay? And that's great with your stamping platform to use any traditional text stamps that you might want to try for sublimation. So, and then a heat source, which we're not going to use the heat press. We are actually going to use this home iron because I want to show you guys how these bookmarks are great for, a home iron use. Any small blanks you can really use with your home iron. And the bookmarks are extra great because they're metal. So they're a good conductor of heat. So it'll help you get a better transfer. So I think that's everything except for a few things like heat tape, but we'll get there. I'll walk you all through it. And if you're ever curious, on our website, we have tons of blogs, and they are actually searchable by tools that you might use, or the blanks you might use, or the inks. So for example, you can go on there and you can click gel plate, and you can see all the gel plate. You can click die cuts and get all your die cut inspo, and there's a supply list for each one. So later on, when you're feeling in need for some inspiration, the Artesprix website is a great place to check out some cool projects. So let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to take some copy paper, and I'm just going to fold it in half to give myself another piece underneath, because I like to do that. And then we are going to trace our bookmark with a pencil. And we like to trace with a pencil because pencil doesn't transfer. And we just don't want to do it with like a sublimation marker or a Sharpie, because, Sharpie's permanent. We don't want it to leave a mark around our lovely white bookmark. And pencil can be erased if ever needed, but it just gives us a good idea. And I know it's probably hard to see, but we have our template. Probably, really hard to see because it's pencil, but you get the idea. So we have
can't see that for anything.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to trust that the pencil is on there.
It's part of the magic. Okay. It's part of the magic. All right. So then what we're going to do is we're going to create a blended background with our blending brushes. So I'm going to grab my orange, and I even put like a little sticker on the back. And the reason I know the orange is a pretty easy one to tell apart, but because the inks are muted, just like ink from a printer, some of the ones can be hard to tell, like the difference maybe between like the purple and the pink, or the red and the pink. Any ones that are similar, it might be hard to tell. So it's a good idea to put like little colored stickers, or maybe write the color name on the back. So we're just going to grab a little ink here, and we're just going to start going in within our template. And I'm just going to rotate between the two colors. And I'm just going in small circular motions. And these don't have a big, it's not a big blank, right? So you can make some of these very quickly, depending on how intricate you want your design to be, how small the die cuts are. That all plays into how fast, you're going to create your project. All right. And then I'm going to grab the purple. And Miss Erin, please interrupt if we have any questions in the chat.
Absolutely. I am hunting. So I'm going to caveat this with, put your questions in there, because I know for a lot of people, sublimation is still very brand new. And we're doing different techniques than what we did in our classes. But if you did not get a chance to ask questions for our class, I'm going to open up the floor, because I have no more lives today with any of my classes. So if you've got any sublimation questions, pop them into the comment section. So, but I might ask questions too, to be like the devil's advocate about what to do for certain things as we're moving along.
I forget. Yes, please do. And you have that paper cropping mind, right? Where I have the sublimator mind. So that would be very helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
And just speaking, jumping off of Erin's point. So just exactly what is happening here, right? So sublimation is when something goes from a solid to a gas, skipping the liquid phase. So we'll just think about an ice cube at the moment. It goes ice cube, solid, then it goes to a puddle, liquid, and then evaporates into vapor, which is the gas, right? Well, we are going to be going from a solid, skipping that liquid phase, and right into the gaseous phase, and then back to the solid phase. So no liquid phase whatsoever. So right now, our design is a solid, and it's on the paper. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trap it with heat and pressure, and the ink is going to turn into gaseous color, and then we're going to trap it, and it's going to have no place to go except for back to the bookmark, right where we want it to, because we're going to make sure it's real tight. It can't go anywhere. And then that is how it binds to the blank, and that's what makes it lifetime permanent. And now, a very common question is, why am I not going to design directly on the bookmark and then press it to heat seal it? The reason we don't do that is because, in short, you want to respect the molecules, because the molecules are happiest on the paper, and then when they get heated up, they are attracted, going back to your chemistry class, attracted to that polyester, and they get happy. Remember all that? People, electrons being happy and that sort of thing. They're happy on the paper, and then
they're in their excited state.
They're in the state, Karen. Thank you. Homework nights, right? Then they're going to go back. They're going to go to the bookmark, and that is where they're happy. If they are on the bookmark, then they're going to get confused, and they're going to be like, "Where do I go? I thought I was happy here. Now I'm not." And then it's going to look messy. So
ex-science teacher here is going from a very neutral state to an excited state, and then it's landing back on its new neutral state because it can't go back to where it's at. So it's all about the transfer of energy. So it's a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics happening at the same time. So yeah, it works like magic if you just heat it. So don't worry about it if you don't get the science behind it.
Some people love this part and they're like Erin, like nerd out, right? And other people are like, magic, good enough for me. Right? So just
bibbity bobbity boop it, and then we're all good.
So that is the science behind our products.
So we have a couple of quick questions I also wanted to pop on. So we also have, is there any way we can get these ink pads in the UK? Is there any stores that you have available, or do you ship internationally? I guess is the other question.
We don't ship internationally from our website. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm frozen on my side.
Oh yeah, we can hear you. You're not frozen on this side at all.
Okay, perfect. As long as I look okay.
Beautiful.
We don't ship internationally from our website, but our partners, Blick Art Materials, they ship internationally. So they do carry our stamp pads, and they carry the heat tape and the protective paper. So they do carry a good majority of our products, and they ship all over the world.
Fantastic. All right. So Ellie Mae's got a question for you. What's your favorite blank of all time?
That is such a tough question.
That is. It's like, which is your favorite children?
Oh, I love this question. Okay, I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna come back because it's hard. I feel like you should say like, what's your favorite fabric blank? What's your favorite? But let me think about it.
I think I like the ornament, truthfully.
Okay. The metal ornament?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter any form of an ornament for a sublimation blank, because I've always in our history, we love to create ornaments for Christmas, and we like to hand make our ornaments for Christmas. And so this has become my new favorite way of creating ornaments for each year. And I can do different techniques on the ornaments. I mean, this is one that we made for a different event, but yeah, just the ornament in general. There's the metal ones. There's also like this one's kind of like a
ceramic,
like a ceramic version. I'm not picky about which version that is. It could even be like, I would even turn one of the keychains into an ornament as well, because it's a fun way to kind of capture and do different kinds of artwork, but it's permanent. It's not going to degrade. It's not going to, and it's will hold up as you transfer it from year to year to year. So that to me is my favorite one.
That is a really good one, because that can be like an activity every year, or you can, if you have kids, you could do like thumbprints with, like we did that once on our YouTube channel.
Oh, the Rudolph ones, like the Christmas trees or the snowman. Oh my God, those are so fun.
Yeah. So it's, to your point, it's a good way to keep tradition, but the blank stays the same. That's another thing that's really nice about our products is a lot of the time the supply stayed the same, but you still have a lot of possibilities, based on the design and incorporating different tools. But like the ink stays the same, the blank stays the same, the heat source stays the same. But just by incorporating a different stamp or stencil or colors even can really change everything, a lot in just a moment.
This one's not related to you, but Wendy, email me again. Make sure you're emailing me. Sorry, this is because she won something. Make sure you're emailing me at this email address down here. And I haven't had a chat. I looked quickly this morning. I did not see it, but I will double check. But email me again, just in case I miss. And that goes for anybody who's part of the retreat. If I've missed answering a question of yours, because people have been emailing me in 3 different places, and please email me here, not at my other, because this is the one I look for all retreat content. But there is another question for you, and where to go? I had it. It's gone. Where to go? Okay, well, here's another one. Why not apply the ink paint directly to the blank? I think you kind of answered that, but do you want to just kind of rehash that again?
Erin, I feel like I was, using more layman's terms. I feel like you should field this one.
It's all about just wanting to have it on the paper. So, first of all, a lot of the blank, especially when it comes to the metal blanks, and also to like if you're doing ceramic or even to the fibers, the markers, the paints and this is just going back to art techniques. They can smear, they can slide, they can get that. It's not the look that you're wanting to. Let's just go from an art standpoint, first of all, not even going into the technical science behind it. If I'm drawing on fabric, it can bleed through on the fabric and it can do all kinds of weird stuff. If I was trying to ink blend on here, it would smear and look messy and kind of gross. So go with the paper, which is what those products are really meant to go on: paint, markers, inks. And then through the amazingness of sublimation, it can get transferred to a surface that normally would not be able to take any of those, because it would wipe off, it would smear, it would bleed. So it really, I'm answering it a different way. So that is why we're doing that.
Yeah, that's a great. And one thing I didn't even mention is like, one of the reasons is because blanks do not grow on trees. Okay. Paper, doesn't grow on trees, but hey, okay.
Well, it comes from a tree.
if you have a hiccup, you're just out a piece of copy paper. That's one of the other things I really love about our products. If you have something that you're just like, oh, I'm not crazy about this one, it took you like, 3 minutes, because we're just stamping and coloring, no big deal. Just like set it aside and just grab a new a sheet of copy paper, and that's the one you transfer. So that's another thing I really like, is you don't transfer until you're 100% happy with your design.
Right. All right, we have another question. We're like full of questions, and you can keep working while we're doing
this. Let me do this, and then I can.
Yeah.
Let me do this real quick. Okay, so next step, guys, is we're going to use our Sizzix Big Shot, right? Yes. Yes.
Well, no, that's the switch.
Big switch. Sorry, big switch. I upgraded. I forgot the name. And I love this. This is so great for someone like myself. They have, what are these called, Erin?
Oh, which one? The plates?
Yeah, the plates. Thank you. The plates have how-to on it, right? So they even have the diagram, which I desperately need. So I'm just following the directions on how to layer my thinlits. Okay. So I have these adorable back thinlits. So now I'm going to place these like this, and we're just going to do 2 more. And I already cut out a bunch, but I'm just going to show you for anybody who doesn't know. And then we're going to take our heat resistant transfer mask, so you can see where I've already cut out a bunch, and it does have a score in the middle for, to assist with like peeling away. It has that clear backing to help with creating. And then I'm just going to place this right here, and then my top, and then I'm just going to feed it through.
Now this is just me, I usually put these so pretend the mask is paper, but we have the green thing that you have. So I do the green thing, and then I put the dies down on top. And so it doesn't matter. You can do your dies. Just make sure that the cutting portion of the die, there's like that lip, there's that edge, is facing the green. So we're cutting out the green. It's not facing the wrong direction, just like if you were going to cut paper. So the whole point is we're die cutting out the green mask that's on there. And I'm calling it green because it's green on screen, even though it's not actually clear, but.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. So then we have our little bats. Okay, so we're done with this. You can put this aside. Okay, I'm ready for that question, Miss Erin. What was that?
Okay, here we go. All right, so can we multicolor fabric, and then we have in our stash instead of using white?
So you do not have to use white fabric for sublimation. You can use colored fabric. If you Google like colored fabric for sublimation, what it'll do is it'll have like a hue wheel, and it'll show you, okay, here's what your color will look like on green polyester fabric. Here's what it'll look like on gray polyester fabric. Here's what it'll look like on light pink polyester fabric. So the reason we just stick to white is because then you can see all the lovely colors, whether that be our bold marker sets, the inks, the paints, you get the full color effect. But anything that fabric that has that color, it will just become a part of that color, and the hues will mix, and it'll just transfer accordingly depending on which one. So you just have to make sure that your fabric does have a high polyester count. So the higher the polyester count, the better the transfer. So if it's a 50-50 blend, like only 50% polyester, it'll look like more vintage, kind of washed out. But then like anything you see on our website, or like these kitchen towels here, which I've thought about it. This is my favorite blank. It's the kitchen towels. Everybody uses them. They're just so good. Everybody all year round, Mother's Day, Halloween, Christmas. I just feel like kitchen towels are always just a good blank to have as far as quick projects. And they're big. There's lots of room to create. Some of them are, you can even do double-sided on some of them if you want. So I like the kitchen towels, but these are 100% polyester, and that's why the colors look so bright and vivid. So you just want to keep that in mind when you're working with fabrics, and kind of
Can you hold that up? Because we can't really see your,
So this I actually created with Sizzix dies as well. So this is like the heart. So what I did was I just took pink paint, and white, and then painted a full sheet of paper, let it dry, cut them out, and then just taped them down and transferred.
So you don't have to do the full sheet of paper. You can cut out pieces and add it. I mean, again, we're just tip of the iceberg on some of the ideas. So if you're really wanting to get fully into all the fun stuff that is to do with the Artesprix sublimation with their markers, their paints, or their inks, there is a ton of different things you can do. And my classes that we've taught here are just a small portion of it, which Ashley is doing with us today. Again, we're just barely scratching the surface on all the fun things that sublimation can be done. And you do not need a printer. None of this is requiring a printer at all, which is a nice thing.
And so we keep a recycling bin under our a paper recycling bin under here. So this was just to show you. This is what it was. So you just paint on regular paper and then use the die cuts to cut it out, and then I taped them down, and you'll see that part here in a minute. And then we transferred. And yeah, I had a heart moment. I just kind of went crazy with the paints and the hearts because it's just so fun.
It is fun.
And this one's really easy. So easy because you're just literally just no artistic ability, artistic ability.
You're just making fun colors. Yeah, you're just painting fun colors. Okay. So we do have, do you want to do another question or do we want to jump into the next part of your? Okay. So if we don't have a sublimation press for mugs, can we still sublimate a mug?
Yes. So what you will need is a craft oven. So some of you guys already have one, like maybe if you're using like polymer clay or things like that, or you can just use an old toaster oven, but make sure it's your old toaster oven and not the one that's in your kitchen, because once you use it for crafting, you really should keep that separate. And you're going to essentially, the first part of the project's all the same. You're creating on paper. And then once you're ready to transfer, you're going to apply it to the mug and use a shrink wrap to add pressure. And we have those on our website. So they're called a sublimation wrap. And you wrap it around that, use a heat gun to shrink it down. It goes, and that's that pressure. And then you put it in the oven for about 5 minutes. And there's some videos on our YouTube channel as well that show how to do that.
Very cool. So there we go.
Yes. Okay, guys. So I have all my bats here, my little green bats. So you can either put these on the, I've seen it done both ways. You can either put this on the blank or you can put it on the design to mask the transfer. I like to put it on the design. I think you get a better result, but either way, but there are some things that you want to consider. For example, you want to consider what ink you're using, the blank type, the material of the blank. For example, like if you're using fabric, that means it's a little bit more porous, a little more breathable. So the paint, that's really powerful, might seep through a little bit. So you might not get that like clear, crisp white. Whereas a bookmark and maybe these stamp pad blending where it's like a little more dainty ink, it might not be as intense. So we might get more of a crisp white. So just keep that in mind that it's either going to be muted or white depending on the blank, whether you put it on the paper or the blank and the ink that you used. So keep all that in mind.
So right now you've die cut out the bats and it looks like you're peeling something off of them. So what exactly are you doing right there?
So there's a clear backing on the back of the heat resistant mask to make it easier when you're, so the clear part is trash. You don't need that part. And then, or I shouldn't say that because crafters love it, like keeping everything and they'll use it for something else, like a card, right?
Don't give away our secrets.
Okay, a card. Don't throw it away. Use it for something else. Don't get mad at me.
Well, and it's a die cut clear piece, so it could be used as a mask for, all kinds of, we use all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so you guys save that for something else that you guys will use it for. I don't know what, but you'll find a way. And then this is what we're looking at right now. So we've got our template. Oh, you can see my pencil mark. Okay. And then
kinda.
Yeah, kind of. So the colors are probably a bit underwhelming right now, right? So wait till we transfer. All right, let me check on my home iron. It's pretty hot. So we are ready to transfer. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut this extra piece of paper because I don't need that. We'll save it for our next project.
I always like to try and explain the colors. If anybody's ever gone to one of those ceramic painting classes where they already have like the little ceramic statuettes, and you might have taken your kids or your grandkids and you paint it and then you leave it with them for them to fire it, and there's piggy banks and there's all kinds of stuff. There was a big thing when my kids were little. We used to have birthday parties at those places, and that was like a fun birthday party thing. And they would give you the paint and you're like, wow, this is like a really crappy red. It looks just like mud. And because all the colors were muted, but then they would show you the ones, and they had little tiles that they used to show it on. And it was like, here's the before and here's the after we fire it. And it's like, oh, it changes with heat. Same with the sublimation. It changes with heat.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind.
Exactly. So you always want to go by like the, on the website, or we have a swatch, or the marker cap, or on the bottles of paint at the bottom, they have like a swatch you can see on the tube. So just go by that, and that's essentially what the finished color is going to look like. So my home iron is on the highest setting. There's no water in it, so I don't have to worry about the steam part. But if you do put water in your home iron, make sure you dump that out before you use it for sublimation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our bookmark. Now, these are not double-sided. One side is metal and one side is stark white. So we're going to put the stark white side down, and then we're going to use heat-resistant tape to keep our project in place. Now, I am going to be very generous with my heat tape because I'm the press. I am the one who's going to make sure that the gaseous color has to stay in place. And so I'm going to try to set myself up for success here by making sure no gaseous color is going to escape. Everything's going to stay in place, and it's going to look fantastic.
So your tape is also green. Is there a correlation between the tape and the green mask we were just using? Because they look very similar.
Yes, there is, Erin. So if anybody who's been following along our journey for a very long time, we joke, but in all sincerity, that we get our best product ideas from you guys, the makers. And we saw makers using our heat tape to create really small designs, like the littlest stars and the littlest hearts. And we said, okay, we will make something larger so that way you can use, bigger things. So for example, you probably could get away with using a roll of heat tape, because there was a roll in the kit. So like, yep, you had really small dies, but it might be a little tough because there's no backing, right, on the heat tape, where it's backing, so it kind of sets you up for success. So essentially we said, okay, we will make something better so that you can do what you're trying to do.
But if you were in the retreat, I did show you how to use it, and that's how we created those little fun white strips on here. So I did show you how to use your tape to create masking in our bookmark class. So just as a heads up. I did give that little nugget in that class.
Yes, so it's true. They look alike because they're the same material. Mm-hmm. So one is just to set you up for success to use it a little more easily with your die cuts, if you will. It's intended purpose, as we would say. Okay, so we use our heat tape to secure our project in place. So now we are going to use protective paper. Now, what is protective paper? It's exactly that. It's going to protect our heat platen, and it's going to protect our work surface, which is this project mat, from any ink that's trying to escape, or more so that like this ink right here, like this purple, sorry, it's so bright. The purple right here, this ink, this has nowhere to go, no bookmark there. So it's going to end up on my mat if I don't put a piece of protective paper underneath it. So I like to explain our protective paper as a good, better, best situation. This is siliconized protective paper. It is what the professionals use. So if you're in an airport and you're on your way to baggage claim and you see a huge piece of metal that has a huge image printed on it, they don't print. So sometimes they print on metal, but sometimes they don't. And when they don't, they use this siliconized protective paper to protect those huge pieces of equipment, to protect these big pieces of metal. So we like to take professional tools and put them in craft form for you. So we have our siliconized protective paper. You can also use parchment paper because that's recommended for heat. So that's a good option. And then there are some butcher papers, which are okay, but just make sure that it's not like meant for cold cuts, because then you're using high heat and you don't know what's being emitted into the air. So just be aware of that. Like, that's why we like to say parchment paper is a good option, because it's designed for heat. So what we just need to do is we just need to cut, or not cut.
But not wax paper.
Yeah, because then it can get messy.
You're gonna get all that waxy residue. So yeah. I definitely love this paper because I've used the parchment paper before, but then you start getting kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it works as good. Like you said, good, better, best. This is the best stuff.
And what's really cool is this is, because it's like non-porous and truly siliconized paper, is there are other things that, you know, if you ever need a palette, like a non-porous surface to just put some paint down or something like that, this is great. So there's other things that you can use it for in your craft room, and it fits in your Reynolds wrap dispenser. So that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 2 pieces, or you can sandwich it in between like a taco. But for the sublimation sandwich demonstration, I'm going to cut 2 separate pieces. So the way I like to explain the sandwich is it's kind of like a cheeseburger. Okay, so we're going to have a bottom bun, okay, piece. Then we have the bookmark, which is our hamburger, and the design is the slice of cheese. And I know you can't see it because it's a very thin blank, but the cheese goes on top of our hamburger always. And then we are going to put a top bun, because this ink is pretty powerful and we don't want it to go anywhere except for where we want it to keep our home iron nice and clean, excuse me. So now I'm trying to see, I can see where the bookmark is, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull it a little closer, set myself up for success, and I'm just going to try to aim where there's no holes and put it straight down, adding firm pressure. And I think I'll have more success if I hold it like this. And then Miss Erin, can you start a timer for me for 3 minutes?
Yeah, I'm looking at, we're at 42:11 on my timer, so we're going to pull it off at 45. So when
this
we're
is a great
using
time for questions.
Yes, it's the perfect time for questions, and we do have a few lined up. So normally when you have a normal heat press, you don't need to do it for 3 minutes because those heat presses get much hotter. So you've got some sort of a template, and I'm going to pull this up real fast, where you've got a whole bunch of ideas. So this right here is the how-to. We got here by going to support. Am I on the right screen? No, of course
Yeah,
I'm
you
on the
are.
right screen. So we went to support. No, my mouse was on the other screen. And then we're going to go over, my mouse. Okay, I got to look at the other screen here. And then we went over to product help, correct?
No, yeah, or no, product directions.
Where? Okay. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Thank you.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
And then
Okay, now we're at the how-to, and we have how-to for iron on ink and supplies, and then we also have one for blanks. So if you're not sure what the time and temperature for blanks or best practices for those, I'm guessing what that's all about. But we're going to go down to Brav's directions, and that's where I got to this page. So we can talk about, you know, if you're wanting tips for sublimation markers, your acrylic paints, but we're going to jump down to the iron because we're using a home iron. And so oh, I got to switch to the other screen because it popped up. And there is a PDF here that you can go and look at, and it gives you lots of fun tips for using your home iron and best home iron directions. So if you're wanting, if that's the blank or if that's the heat source that you have, here is where all the information is. And it also says like, what are the best blanks you can use for your home iron?
Yes, and all of
did I cover it all?
are small. So they essentially fit under the home iron in one swoop, because otherwise you have to do like multiple 3-minute presses. So it can be done. Like, for example, if you wanted to do a tote bag, you would just keep that design small, the size of a coaster, the size of that bookmark, and then just do multiple presses. So it'll take a, you know, you might grow a little muscles after pressing for 9 minutes if you do it 3 times. But hey, you're the artist, whatever you want to do.
And just keep in mind, every time you lift and move that press, you have the possibility, and it's sometimes it's cool because you like that kind of muddled and kind of ghosty or blurry look. And like for our sublimation tote bags, I'm all for it. I want those extra blurriness happening there. But if you're wanting a clean, crisp image, every time you shift or move something, you could potentially have the ability of having it kind of get that ghosty, blurry image. So that's why a lot of the people use the big press that she's got in the back there. It looks like it's like an open hamburger looking thing. It's not the oven, it's the other one that you see on the other side of her, because you're pushing down, it has the press, and it's one time lift up and it's done. You're not doing several different passes of the same thing.
Exactly.
All right. So we do have another question. Where to go? Here it is. Okay. There's something about using a cotton shirt and a spray. Have you heard about that?
So anything that is with cotton is a hack, and forgive me because I'm not really hack knowledgeable, but I can explain how it works and what that essentially entails. So there are sprays and, oh, excuse me, I'm moving a little bit. I'm just going to go back. And this is why you use tape, because essentially, hopefully it's just fine.
We are not going to be as still as we ever think we are going to be.
Yeah. So that's why I just did it, because I'm just chatting away. So anyway, what that question is referring to is putting something on the cotton that allows it to accept the sublimation ink, that kind of tricks the ink that this is a polyester coating kind of thing onto the cotton shirt. We'll just call it a shirt. I don't know if that's what it was.
I'm going to give you, it's the 3-minute mark.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
But so then what you would do is, I imagine is you're coating the t-shirt to make it ready to accept the ink. Then you're pressing it onto the ink. So really the ink is only on that coating, right? It's not on the fabric that's underneath it. So if you go to wash it, that coating could come off, and essentially the ink could come off along with it. But there are some out there that exist. You just have to, you might get more of a DIY look than maybe you intended. You just want to keep that in mind. We do have shirts here. I'm actually doing a wash test myself. I washed a shirt over 200 times. I throw it in the dryer. I throw it on hot. I actually created it in March 2020, and I'm still just waiting for it to
fade,
change, and it looks the
go.
same. So my husband's like, we just and I go right back in the hamper, we just let her go from the dryer to the hamper, and it's just a part of and it's just my personal little wash test, and I'm just still waiting for it to crack, fade, peel, that kind of thing. So it can be done, but it's a hack. Okay, so let's get some gloves, because this is very hot.
Okay. And temperature for timing in terms of items like metal, because it's a conductor, we're going back into science world here, they're going to hold heat a lot longer, and it's going to stay hotter longer than like a t-shirt or a towel. So always wear your protective, like we're going to wear our big thing, put on heat protective gloves, don't touch it, don't be like, oh, let me see it, you're going to burn your fingers. So don't
just and essentially grab some tools, because you want to protect yourself. So I'm going to be using some tweezers, and we're going to do something called the peak test. Okay, so
your little picky tools are awesome.
Yeah, see, you guys already have these. Boom, we're using them for sublimation. Yep. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to peek and make sure our project came out great. You can see everything is still in place, right? So that little move that I made when I was chatting, probably no big deal, because everything stayed pretty much in place. So I'm just going to see where it might be a good area for me to see if I can lift it up and just see if I can take a peek without like really removing it, because if we need to press again, then that makes it easy to do. So let me see if I can just get a peek. Okay, guys, it's looking good. I'm so excited. Okay, so now we can remove this bottom
piece. Really quick, what if you peeked and it doesn't look like you want it to?
So let's say I feel like it could be brighter. Let's say the orange is still looking a little muted. I just push that right back down. No problem. It's in the exact same spot. I probably would grab a new piece of protective paper for the bottom, but the siliconized paper on top, this is still pretty good. I can't see any ink to it when I hold up the light. So I would reuse this piece. So you just need a new top or bottom piece, depending on which one you put where, and then you can repress. I would do it for another like, 2 minutes, because really the only time that you can really like hurt your blank is if we're talking like over, or like maybe like closer to like 440 degrees kind of thing. And that's just not probably going to happen with your home iron or your craft presses. So don't get nervous about, doing it like an extra minute. It'll be totally fine.
Why can't we use the paper that already has the ink on it? Why is that a problem?
Good question. So if I used this, let's say I used this for my bottom and I didn't line it up right, so then this ink could maybe reactivate and maybe go into the back of my bookmark. Now this isn't a double-sided bookmark, so like, you know, we're not intending to personalize this side, but let's say it was a white one. You want to make sure that you keep this side white, ready to go for your next project. So we just don't want this ink to reactivate. What's nice about the silicone aspect of it is it does help keep it trapped. So for anybody who's used it before, you might notice that you maybe took some risky business and it didn't. But I like to, you know, play it safe and get a new piece if there's no ink on it. But if you had like a keychain or something small, or even like you could cut off this part, maybe that would fit for a bookmark. So you can use anywhere where there's no ink.
Thank you.
Of course. So let's see if I can. It's pretty cool now. So
it's taken about 4 minutes since she removed the iron. So just to kind of give you a time frame, it's not 20 minutes before it gets cold, you know, touchable, but you don't want to do it within the first minute.
Right. So just give it, just like cooking, just give it a tap. Make sure you can touch it, whatever you feel comfortable with. And you guys, it looks amazing. So go ahead and reveal your permanent design. And look at how cute. Are we just batty over this project?
Batty, but I'm bumped.
So you can see that I'll show you I'm just sticking the pieces of heat tape to it. So you can see where the bats were, the mask, and then that totally gave us the original white.
Love it. Oh, that's so much fun. And just again, sky's the limit. You don't want to do bats. You want to do hearts. You want to do snowflakes. Just change the color of the ink, change the color of the shape that you are masking, and you can have all different kinds of bookmarks. You can do words as long as they're reversed. You have to keep in mind it has to be mirror imaged. Now, we only have about a couple more minutes because we have another class that we're going to be doing here shortly, but we have a couple more questions. So I would like to hit those, but we are almost out of time here. So here's a quick one. Are the polyester kitchen towels still pretty absorbent like the cotton ones?
Yes. I have more than I'd like to admit in my own kitchen. Don't tell. They're great. I love them.
Here's another one. How long after painting something do you have it sublimated? Do you have to do it within the first 5 minutes? Can you wait until the next day? How long do you have before you need to use it?
Lisa, I love this question. Thank you so much. No rules. Okay. You can transfer whenever you want. We have seen things transferred up to a year later. So I can't speak the same for sublimation printouts, and that's okay because that's not my forte. But when it comes to us, you can create at any point in time. You could even, like, we've seen projects start, stop, go back to it, like, and the inks played well together. So there's no rules on when you have to transfer.
I love it. See, and there's also lots of rules to have fun, to play with it all. And you could intermix. We had some ladies that were doing some markers and then they had paint over top of it. And then we were taking a sublimation printout and we were doing lots of layers and then heat press the whole thing. So there's lots of fun things that you can do by just experimenting and having fun, you know? And so, you know, when you're doing that, I wouldn't pick the most expensive blank in the world to practice on, but there's some inexpensive ones that are out there. And you have a huge variety of blanks in your store at Artesprix, not to mention the stamps or the inks, the stamps, the tape, but you also have a lot of the blanks that are there. And don't you also have a new blank that comes out every month?
We
called
do.
The Blank of the Month?
We do. Yes, we have a Blank of the Month program. So this month it's a sequin zip case. Thought it would be great for back to school. So that's only available through today. And then tomorrow there's a new blank on the scene. So check that out. And you guys get 20% off of everything in the Artesprix shop. So be sure to look at that, think about that when you're shopping later. And then also, I was just going to say, as far as blank goes and experimenting, Joann Fabrics has a ton of white, 100% polyester fabric. Go grab a yard and just have fun. That's a great way to start dabbling in it too. Or if you have white ribbon, a lot of that stuff's polyester too. So you guys might have some stuff already.
So if you're looking for the code, and I didn't get, and I was looking everywhere for that, it's Create 20, I believe. Is that what we had?
It's stamped 20.
Crap. I knew we were close. I was like, it's something 20.
It's stamped 20.
And when does that, because you do already have a 20% off back to school that's automatic, but that expires today. So
Right.
this stamp 20 code, when does this one expire?
You have some time through September.
Okay.
I don't like being, ruling with an iron fist with that, but don't wait because it's not forever.
Yeah, yeah. So just rule of thumb, use it within the next couple of weeks, but you don't
Yes.
have until you have longer than just today. And I believe you said this also works on a few extra products more than what the other one
Yeah,
had.
so the back to school, I was, kind of selective, like bookmarks, things that keychains kind of went into the back to school theme, but the stamp 20 is for everything on the website.
Just for you ladies that are part of this, watching all of us and being a part of the retreat. I love that. I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the retreat, and also for being an amazing sponsor. It blows me away that you have been so supportive of us, and I love your products. So I love being able to share and spread the love of all things Artesprix, because I always come up with other fun ideas, and I see all the other creators coming up with ideas. I'm like, oh, I want to try that. Oh, I want to try that. Oh, that looks so cool. And you came out with the paints, and then there was like 3 colors of paint. Now we have a whole bunch of colors of paint, and I can't wait to see what's up your sleeve next for all the fun new things you have coming down the line.
Well, we do have more coming per usual, so definitely stay connected with us on Instagram and our YouTube channel and things like that. And any questions you have, drop them, here later when you're catching the replay, and we're happy to answer questions you guys might have.
Oh, thank you again so much. So for those of you we are only about 5 minutes away, but we're going to be jumping into our live class with Cassandra Louise. We're going to be talking about all things gel press. And yes, the sublimation paints and the markers and the inks all work on the gel press if you're wanting to play with that. And that is what one of my classes was all about. That was the mixed media tote that we did. We played with our gel press, with our markers, and then we did it with our paints. And that's how I created the images that went on this tote bag. So don't forget, that is actually our last class of the day-to-day that's been pre-recorded. So you can go check out that class if you've bought a ticket for the retreat. So I'm going to jump off because we got to jump on our next live with Cassie. And again, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.